In the middle of a vast desert, more than 1,000 miles from the nearest coastline, sits one of the busiest ports on Earth. There are no ships, no waves, and no ocean. Just sand, mountains, and steel tracks stretching across the horizon. A generation ago, this place didn't exist. Today, it's become one of the most important crossroads of modern global trade. This is Khorgos, a remote outpost between China's Xinjiang province and southeastern Kazakhstan. It's located in one of the most landlocked regions on the planet, farther from the sea than almost anywhere else. Yet against all expectations, it is emerging as a critical gateway between Asia and Europe. And at the center of that transformation lies a much bigger story. Khorgos is one of the flagship projects of China's Belt and Road Initiative, an ambitious attempt to rebuild the idea of the ancient Silk Road for the 21st century, linking markets, industries, and supply chains across continents. Please take a moment to subscribe and like the video. It really helps the channel. For much of history, Central Asia was defined by the movement of goods across its deserts and mountain passes. Merchants carried silk, ceramics, metalwork, and spices between China and Europe. But as maritime shipping grew, ocean ports replaced overland routes as the dominant arteries of global trade. Places like Khorgos became quiet, forgotten by the world's economic networks. That began to change when China started pushing infrastructure westward. The idea was simple. If goods could move across land at high speed, trade could be faster, more efficient, and less dependent on the sea. Khorgos was selected as the key link, not because it was a developed hub, but precisely because it was a blank slate in a strategic corridor between two giant rail systems. The goal was to build the world's largest inland port, a dry port designed not for ships, but for trains. Here, cargo would travel by rail from China's major manufacturing centers to markets across Europe. Instead of taking 40 to 45 days by sea, the land route could complete the same journey in around 15 days, 3 times faster, with fewer bottlenecks and shorter storage times. This land route is known as the new Eurasian Land Bridge. It is reshaping how goods move across continents, through the heart of Asia rather than around its edges. On the Kazakh side of the border sits Khorgos Gateway, a vast rail terminal and logistics hub. Across the boundary line lies the Khorgos International Center for Boundary Cooperation, a shared free trade zone where people from both countries can trade without visas. Between them, warehouses, customs centers, and transport facilities have risen from what was once open steppe. To make Khorgos operational, engineers had to connect it into existing rail networks. A 293-kilometer rail line was constructed from Khorgos to Zhetagan inside Kazakhstan, linking it to the broader Central Asian and Russian networks. On the eastern side, Khorgos connects directly to China's enormous national rail grid. Today, around 65 freight trains pass through Khorgos each month, carrying more than 6,000 standard shipping containers. The terminal was built to handle about 15 million tons of cargo per year, and this capacity is expected to double as demand increases. The scale is impressive. Massive gantry cranes sweep across wide rail yards, lifting containers from one train to another. Freight tracks run in every direction. Warehouses stretch over the desert floor. At night, the terminal glows like a city of steel and sodium light. Khorgos isn't simply a border checkpoint. It is a purpose-built logistics city engineered for constant movement. There is a significant technical obstacle at Khorgos. China's rail system uses the standard European gauge, measuring 1,435 millimeters between the rails. Kazakhstan, like Russia and much of Central Asia, uses a broader gauge of 1,520 millimeters. Trains that arrive from China cannot continue on Kazakh tracks, and the reverse is also true. Instead of replacing wheels or bogies, which would slow operations, Khorgos has developed a high-speed container transfer system. Giant cranes lift containers from trains on one track gauge and reposition them onto trains that match the other. Sophisticated logistics software coordinates arrivals, departures, and sequencing to minimize downtime. A complete train can be unloaded and reloaded in roughly 47 minutes. It's a highly choreographed process that turns a major incompatibility into a manageable logistical step. What could have been a crippling bottleneck has been engineered into an efficient exchange system. Khorgos is no longer just a freight terminal. Around it, a new city is taking shape. Roads, housing, commercial districts, and support services are rising across the desert. Workers from China, Kazakhstan, and neighboring countries live here. Retail districts and cultural centers support a growing population. The border zone itself is one of the few places in the world where two countries share a commercial space without requiring visas, allowing traders and workers to interact freely. What was once barren steppe now hums with engines, cranes, markets, and construction. The landscape has shifted from absolute emptiness to structured development in under 2 decades. The significance of Khorgos extends far beyond logistics. For China, it provides an alternative trade route that reduces reliance on maritime shipping lanes controlled by other global powers. For Kazakhstan, it positions the country as a central node in trans-Eurasian commerce, generating investment, jobs, and new regional influence. But this movement of trade has consequences. It influences economic partnerships, shifts political alignments, and alters the balance of global supply chains. It raises questions about financial risk, sovereignty, and long-term economic dependency. And it places Khorgos at the center of a broader narrative about global competition and cooperation. Yet despite these uncertainties, the trains keep moving. More freight, more infrastructure, more investment. The network continues to expand. Khorgos challenges the assumption that economic power flows only through ocean ports. It demonstrates how rail corridors can redraw trade geography. It shows that regions long considered remote or peripheral can become strategic hubs when transportation networks are reimagined. In a world where supply chains are constantly adjusting to new pressures, Khorgos offers a different vision of connectivity. One that crosses mountains, deserts, and borders. One that links inland manufacturing zones directly to global markets. One that revives the spirit of the Silk Road, not as a romantic memory, but as a functional infrastructure system. Khorgos is a reminder that global trade is never fixed. Routes shift, priorities evolve. Economic centers rise from places where few expect them to. In the middle of Central Asia, on land once marked only by wind and sand, a new Silk Road has emerged. Not a historic pathway preserved in museums, but a living, active network of rails, freight yards, markets, and people. Khorgos shows that even the most remote place can become the center of something much larger, a gateway not defined by oceans, but by connection.